to my creative writing advice series. I am JJ Buns. I am an author, a writer, a screenwriter, a filmmaker, a blogger, and a YouTuber. And I am obsessed with stories, love stories, and I'm here sharing what I know about stories with you and hopefully helping you feel like a better and more confident writer so you can go and share your stories with the world just like I do. Today I'm talking to you about the pace of your story. So the pace of your story is how quickly it moves forwards. And you'll probably have heard people when they're criticising or praising films or books, when they'll talk about the pace, whether it was a good pace or whether it was a bad pace. So I'll explain to you a bit about what that means and how you can do it well in your own story. Because it could feel a bit confusing because your story has to move forward. So what does it mean? So a fast pace is when you are not having a lot of description, because it's all action, it's all dialogue, and it's all movement. A slow pace is when you're having a lot of description. So it's when you take time to describe the light on the trees, the movement of the leaves, the way the air smells, the way the air feels, any memories it inspires in your character. And you take time. It's when you use your poetic language, your descriptions that are seeded with imagery and metaphor, and you take time to really explore the environment your character is in. That is slow. Doesn't mean it's bad, doesn't mean it's good. It just means it's slow. It can be good or bad whether it's slow or fast, so that's fine. And then you have your medium pace, your sort of standard pace, where it's a good combination of dialogue and action, and imagery and metaphor. And that's when you have your medium pace. And what you want to do with your story is to vary the pace. And the way you do that well is to work out what specific scenes need and give them the amount of description versus dialogue and action that that specific kind of scene needs. And every scene should have a slightly different pacing because every scene is slightly different. And they'll all move your story forwards if they're the good scenes. Like, if they don't move your story forwards at all, you need to cut those scenes out anyway. But every scene needs to move your story forwards. But it will be in a slightly different way. And you have to make sure that you vary the pace of your story at different points, depending on the specific scene it is. So if you have a scene where your characters are having a romantic picnic in the park, and they're resting, and they're gazing around, and they're sharing their hopes and their dreams, and they're eating beautiful little fairy cakes and sandwiches and sipping gin and tonic, and they're having a very lovely romantic time. That will be a slow-paced scene. It will still need conflict. It will still need to move the story forward. So those characters will have things they want in that scene, perhaps things they want to talk about, things they're too scared to talk about, and they're worried and they're sharing their emotions with the reader. And they're thinking a lot. And that is a slow scene. Slow and romantic, and that's fine. Then imagine you have a fight scene. It probably won't go straight after, but it might. And they are fighting and they're throwing each other against walls and they're punching and they're leaping and they're kicking and they're all over the place. I'm obviously a very good fighter. But the point is, if you spent a long time exploring the smell of the air and the light on the walls during that fight, your story would be very strange. It would not only be very strange, but that scene would then be very slow, which wouldn't suit it. It's a fight scene. It needs to be fast, 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 fast. So you focus more on specifically the action, the dialogue if they're like sparring with each other, but you focus on the movement. But you can't have so much movement that you have no description, because then it's so fast it doesn't make sense. So you have to talk about the pain they feel and, whoa, oh, it hurt. You know, you have to focus on the feelings that are very relevant to the scene, but you can't cut them out completely and you can't indulge in them too much. And the way to think about this when you're writing it is, if you're looking at your scene and you're like, oh, I don't actually know how fast this scene would be, think about what you would be thinking about in that moment. Because you're rooting yourself in the POV character of that scene, unless you're doing like God access, and that's fine if you want to. But usually what you do is you pick one character and you focus on that character's feelings and their interiority. If that was you, if you put yourself in the place of that character, what would you be thinking about? If you're sitting having a romantic picnic, you would stop and be thinking about what's around you. You'd be thinking about what you want to talk about your emotions, about the other person, the way they look. You'd be thinking all of these things because you're in a slow setting. You're having the opportunity to slow down and think. So that's what your character will do too. But if you were being beaten up in a building, you probably wouldn't then start thinking about, oh, that is an interesting shade of magnolia. You wouldn't do that. You'd be too busy thinking what I've got to do, where I've got to run, who I've got to hit, and what hurts. So you focus that on the character too. And if you can root yourself in that character and what they're doing at that moment, your scenes will have a good pace. Because they will be varied, because not every scene is the same. Everything will move forward because you are infusing every scene with conflict and making it plot relevant. And the pace will suit the scene that you're in. So, yeah. You're probably going to have fast-paced scenes in the climax, followed by slower ones where they think about it. Your opening scenes might have a slower pace because you're just getting to know your protagonist and work out what it is they want and figure things out. But all the way through, keep the pace suited to the scene you're in, based on how the character is feeling and what they are thinking about. I hope this makes sense. It's what I use and it's a really good technique, and I hope that I have shared it with you in a way that will make sense. Drop a comment down below if you are working on a scene and you're not sure what the pacing needs to be, and hopefully we can work it out together and get your book as good as we can get it. Thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'm always trying to bring you the best writing advice I can, and I'm doing it every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. And I'm also probably going to be bringing out some extra videos because of the kittens, because I now have kittens. Yay! Thank you very much for watching, and I will be back again soon. Bye!